I froze when the bank manager said it. "Your accounts are empty." I laughed. Actually laughed, because that didn't make sense. Not in my life, not in my system. "What do you mean, empty?" I asked. He turned the screen toward me. Zero. Checking, savings, business reserve, zero. My chest tightened. That's not possible. There's over $300,000 in there. He hesitated. There was. I didn't understand it yet, but something inside me shifted. Because money doesn't just disappear. Someone takes it, and I already had a name. 3 hours earlier, my life had been perfect, or at least that's what I believed. I had just closed the biggest deal of my career, a logistics contract that would double my company's revenue overnight. Investors shaking my hand, smiling, respecting me. For once, I wasn't the invisible one. I wasn't the support system. I was the one in control. Or so I thought. Because when I walked out of that building, phone buzzing with congratulations, I saw the notification. Large withdrawal approved. I frowned. Then another, and another. By the time I opened my banking app, it was already gone. All of it. Drained in less than 5 minutes. But that wasn't even the worst part, because the authorization name on the transaction, it wasn't Evan. It was a company I'd never seen before. Helix Vanguard Holdings. I said it out loud, slowly, testing it, because something about it felt deliberate, like it was meant to sound important, legitimate, untouchable. But I work in logistics, and logistics teaches you one thing better than anything else. Follow the flow. And the flow here was dirty. I looked up. Evan was still talking, still pacing, still explaining his brilliant plan like I wasn't even listening. "You don't understand how big this is. People like Warren Buffett are already positioning for it. The collapse has already started. I'm just early." I didn't respond because I wasn't listening to his words anymore. I was listening to the gaps, and something didn't line up. "You said you invested it," he said. "I did." "In your name?" He paused, just for a fraction of a second, but I saw it. That hesitation, that was the crack. "It's structured," he said carefully, "for tax efficiency." There it was, the lie. Because real structures, I would have built them, not him. "Show me," I said. He smiled again. Too smooth. "Relax, you'll see the return soon enough." No, that wasn't good enough. Not anymore. Because in that moment, something shifted. Not emotionally, logically. I stopped being his wife. I stopped being the person in the story, and I became the analyst. And the data was screaming at me. This wasn't an investment. It was a funnel, a pipeline, money going in, but never coming back out. "What's Helix Vanguard?" I asked. He didn't answer immediately, and that told me everything. "It's just the vehicle," he said. Vehicle. Another word choice, another deflection. "For who?" I asked. Silence. Then, "For us." No, wrong answer. Because if it was for us, my name would be on it. I nodded slowly, pretending to accept it, pretending to relax, because I needed him comfortable. I needed him careless. "Okay," I said quietly. "Good," he replied, relieved. "Trust me." Trust. That word again. But that wasn't the worst part. Not even close. Because later that night, after he fell asleep, I accessed his laptop. Evan was sloppy, not in his actions, in his arrogance. He thought I wouldn't look, that I didn't understand enough, that I wouldn't connect the dots. He was wrong. It took me 12 minutes. 12 minutes to bypass his passwords. 12 minutes to access everything. 12 minutes to realize this wasn't just theft, it was fraud. Massive, layered, intentional. Helix Vanguard wasn't a company, it was a shell, one of many, and behind it, a network, accounts moving money in circles, artificial losses, fake positions, manufactured collapse bets. He wasn't predicting a crash, he was trying to create one. My stomach turned, because suddenly, this wasn't about my money anymore. It was bigger, much bigger. There were other names in the files.
Dozens, maybe hundreds. People who had invested, people who trusted him, people who thought they were getting in early. He wasn't just stealing from me, he was building something dangerous, and I didn't realize it yet, but I was already inside it. Then I saw it, the document that changed everything, a contract, signed, time-stamped, legally binding. My name was on it. I froze, scrolled up, read it again, slowly, carefully. It was a power of attorney, granting Evan full control over my financial assets, my accounts, my business, everything. Signed 2 weeks ago. I felt my pulse in my ears, because I never signed that, but the signature looked exactly like mine. Perfect. Too perfect. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was premeditated. He didn't drain my accounts on impulse. He prepared for it, planned it, engineered it, and I didn't realize it yet, but I wasn't the first. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the screen, connecting everything, the fake company, the missing money, the forged signature, the collapse. It wasn't a strategy, it was a setup. And then, my phone buzzed again, same unknown number, another message. Now you see it. A second file appeared. I hovered over it, because if the first one exposed the lie, then whatever was in this one was going to expose the truth. And something told me I wasn't ready for it. I opened the second file, and everything stopped. Not metaphorically, literally. My brain just paused, because staring back at me was my face, a video, time-stamped 3 weeks ago. I clicked it. It was me, sitting at our dining table, signing documents, smiling, nodding, agreeing. "I trust you," I heard myself say. My stomach dropped, because I didn't remember this at all. I watched it again, slower this time, frame by frame. The lighting was wrong. The angle felt off. The audio slightly delayed. It looked real, perfectly real, but something about it felt manufactured. Then it hit me. This wasn't a recording. It was generated. Deep fake. My hands went cold, because that meant one thing. Evan hadn't just planned this. He had invested in it. Time, money, technology. This wasn't theft. This was infrastructure. I leaned back, staring at the screen, thinking, not emotionally, strategically, because now I understood the game. He didn't just want my money. He wanted control. Legal, documented, irreversible. And if this went public, I wouldn't just lose everything. I'd be the one blamed. Fraud, forgery, financial manipulation, all tied to my name. I wasn't the victim in his plan. I was the shield. And that's when something inside me went quiet. Not fear, not anger, clarity. Because for the first time since this started, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was planning. I closed the laptop gently, carefully, like none of this mattered, like I hadn't just uncovered the blueprint of my own destruction. Then I looked over at Evan, sleeping peacefully, breathing slow, comfortable. He thought he had already won. That was his first mistake. I stood up, walked to the window, city lights stretching endlessly below. My life had been perfect, structured, controlled, predictable, and he shattered it in one move. But what he didn't understand was that chaos is where I'm strongest, because chaos is just unorganized data, and I know how to organize data. I turned back, picked up my phone, and made one call. "Marcus," I said, "I need a favor." Marcus didn't ask questions. That's why I trusted him. We had worked together years ago. Crisis logistics, high-risk asset recovery, situations where things go wrong and need to be fixed quietly. "You sound different," he said. "I am," I replied. "I need everything on a company, Helix Vanguard Holdings." Pause. Then, "How deep?" "Everything," I said. "Ownership, shell links, movement patterns. I want to know where the money actually goes." Another pause, then a low whistle. "You think it's bigger than it looks?" I stared at Evan, still asleep, still smiling. "I know it is." "All right," he said. "Give me 24 hours. "No," I replied. "Give me 6. Silence. Then, "What did you just get yourself into?" I hung up, because I didn't have time to explain. Time was the one thing Evan thought he controlled, but that wasn't true anymore. I spent the next hour copying everything, every file, every transaction, every contract. I didn't take anything, I duplicated it, because in my world, information is leverage, and by the time the sun came up, I had enough leverage to destroy him. But that wasn't the plan, not yet, because I didn't want revenge. I wanted ownership of everything he built, everything he stole, everything he thought was his, and I didn't realize it yet, but I was about to take it all. At exactly 6:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. Marcus. That was fast, I said. No, he replied. His voice was different, tighter. How bad? Pause. Helix Vanguard, he said. It's not the top. My grip tightened on the phone. What do you mean? It's the middle, he said. Cold silence filled the room. Middle of what? I asked. And then he said it, something that changed everything. There's a parent structure above it. My heart slowed. Who? Another pause, longer this time, like he didn't want to say it. Then finally, your name is on that one too. I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe, because in that moment, the entire story flipped. This wasn't Evan's operation, not completely, and somehow, somewhere, I was already at the top of it, without even knowing. I didn't respond right away, because my brain was already moving faster than the conversation. Your name? I said finally. Explain. Marcus exhaled slowly. There's a parent entity above Helix Vanguard, offshore, layered, hidden behind 3 jurisdictions. I closed my eyes, processing. Say it, he said. It's registered under a holding trust, and the primary beneficiary, pause, is you. Silence filled the room, heavy, unreal. That's not possible, I said. But even as I said it, I knew it was, because Evan didn't make mistakes. He engineered outcomes. And suddenly, everything clicked. The fake signature, the deep fake video, the power of attorney. He wasn't just stealing from me, he was building everything in my name. A shield, a front, a fall guy. If it collapsed, I would take the hit. If it succeeded, he would control it behind the scenes. I let out a slow breath. Marcus, I said calmly, I need control of that entity. He didn't hesitate. That's going to be complicated. No, I replied, it's going to be precise. Because here's what Evan didn't understand. He built the system, but I understood the system, and that difference, that's everything. Send me everything, I said. Access points, weak links, legal structures. You're thinking of, yes, I cut him off. I'm not stopping this. I'm taking it. He went quiet. Then, I'll send it. The call ended. I turned back towards the bedroom. Evan was still asleep, still comfortable, still convinced he was untouchable. That was about to change, because I had exactly one advantage. He thought I was broken, and broken people don't fight back. They disappear. That was his second mistake. I sat down at the kitchen counter, opened my laptop, and began. Step 1. Access. The parent entity required dual authentication, legal plus biometric. The legal side, handled, thanks to his own forged documents. The biometric?
What did you do? He asked. His voice wasn't confident anymore. It was sharp, tense. I reorganized, I said calmly. That's not possible, he snapped. You don't have clearance. I tilted my head slightly. Check the ownership. He did, and that's when it hit him. Legally, structurally, systematically, it was all mine. You think this is a game? He said, stepping closer. No, I replied. I think this is math. His jaw tightened. You can't run this without me. I smiled. That was his final mistake, because he still thought he was necessary. I already am, I said, and then I pressed one key. Step 3, exposure. Every transaction, every shell, every hidden flow, compiled, packaged, and sent. Not to the police, not yet, to the investors, all of them, with one subject line. You deserve to know where your money really went. Evan's face went pale.
"You just destroyed everything," he whispered. I stood up slowly. "No," I said, "I just corrected the balance sheet." Because here's what he never understood. Collapse isn't destruction, it's redistribution, and I had just moved everything out of his control. Evan didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even blink, because in that moment, he finally understood. This wasn't damage control, this was collapse, and he was at the center of it. His phone started ringing, once, twice, then non-stop. He didn't answer, he didn't have to, because we both knew who it was. Investors, partners, people who had trusted him, people who just got the truth, raw, unfiltered, undeniable. "You're insane," he said finally. I shook my head. "No," I replied, "I'm accurate." The first email response came in, then another, then 10. Confusion, anger, panic, questions he couldn't answer, and that was the point, because I didn't expose everything, just enough. Enough to break trust, enough to trigger doubt, enough to start the unraveling. Because in systems like his, trust is the currency, and once that's gone, everything collapses. "You think they'll believe you?" he said, desperate now, grasping. I looked at him, really looked at him. "They don't have to believe me," I said. "They just have to stop believing you." That's when his second phone started ringing, the private one, the one he never let me touch. He stared at it, didn't answer, because whatever was on the other side of that call was worse than me. "You shouldn't have done that," he whispered. Too late, because I already had. Within an hour, everything shifted. Accounts froze, access points flagged, external audits triggered. Not by me, by the system itself. Because once enough pressure hits, even the strongest structures crack. Evan started pacing, running hands through his hair, muttering numbers, names, excuses, trying to regain control. But control was gone. "Fix it," he said suddenly, turning to me. That word again, fix, like I was still part of his system, like I still worked for him. I smiled, slow, cold. I already did, because while he was watching everything fall apart, he missed the most important move. Step 4, extraction. While the system collapsed, I moved quietly, reallocating assets, securing clean funds, isolating what was real from what was fabricated, because not everything in that network was fake. Some of it was very real, and now it was mine. "You stole from me," he said, voice breaking. I almost laughed. "From you?" I asked. Then I stepped closer. "You built everything in my name." I paused, let it sink in. "You just forgot one thing." "What?" he asked, barely holding it together now. I leaned in slightly. "If it's in my name," a beat. "It's mine." That was the moment he broke, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, internally, because the math finally caught up to him. By the end of the day, it was over. Investigations opened, accounts seized, partners disappeared, and Evan left with nothing. No system, no leverage, no control. Just consequences. I didn't watch it happen. I didn't need to, because I already knew the outcome. A week later, I stood in a new office, empty, clean, controlled, mine, not inherited, not manipulated, built properly, from what remained, from what mattered, from what was real. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it for a moment, then answered. Silence, then a voice. Low, measured. "You handled that well." I didn't respond, because I already knew this wasn't over. The Helix Vanguard was just one layer, the voice continued. There it was again. Layers, systems, structures. "You removed a piece," he said. "Now the rest is watching." I smiled slightly, because finally, I wasn't inside the system anymore. I was above it. "Good," I said. A pause. Then, let them watch. I ended the call, walked to the window, city stretching endlessly below. Same view, different position. My life was perfect once, safe, predictable, controlled. Then it collapsed, and in the collapse, I found something better. Power. Not the kind you're given, the kind you take. And this time, no one was taking it back.